Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another day here in Bronie's World and our first call for spring here in New South Wales or Australia, New Zealand. Now, it's been a very interesting morning here in my part of the world. We have had, I have had speaker after speaker pull out because it is actually a public holiday in the USA. And so just a few seconds ago, I asked my darling husband if he would come and be my best guest speaker today because, you know, he has some qualifications. He is a qualified counsellor. And while he's had a little talk, you can ask him questions if you wish. And we're going to share a few testimonies as well. So with no further ado, babe, my husband's name's Paul, by the way. For those who don't know. I just realised I didn't say that. Anyway, my husband of almost 44 years in a month's time. Anyway, babe, happy birthday for Sunday.
Thank you. Tell the world.
We've
just tell the world.
We're just having this discussion that he's a dyslexic 27. You can work that out. All right. So, babe, with no further ado, I'm handing it over to you.
How are you?
Yes.
You see what I got to put up with, ladies, really?
There's gentlemen there too.
Is there?
Harry's
Oh,
behind,
hello, Harry.
He's behind Magna.
It doesn't matter what field we work in, whether we're doing longevity, whether we're doing... It doesn't really matter what we're doing. I've been in management for many years. I've been a counsellor now for almost 20. One of the things that has always occasionally stood in my path with people, and I was actually a management trainer for 30 years as well. One of the things that stand in people's way is they get to the point of having knowledge and experience. They get put into a position and for whatever reason, they doubt themselves. And the wording for that is an imposter syndrome. I've listened to a lot of people that Bron speaks to from time to time, and I've listened to Bron, and I intuitively know that there's inside the person the feeling that, really, I'm in a position I shouldn't be in. And that's imposter syndrome. And the opposite of that is what's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where people are promoted or put in positions where, quite frankly, they shouldn't be because it's way beyond their capabilities and capacity, which is a very different thing. Every person, Bronwyn, you lovely people here on the call this morning, you wouldn't be where you are if you didn't have the knowledge, you didn't have the support, and that's the key word, support. If we don't have those things, that's it. That's different. Imposters in the situation we're talking about is self-imposed. It's self-doubt. And many years ago, I was doing some research, and it's not an unusual thing that, what's the opposite of it? Introverts, not all of them. Introverts actually make extremely good managers. Introverts in particular tend to have this feeling that, I'm not quite good enough. And yet, personally, I am an introvert. I'm a very bad one at times. But I also know that I am good enough to do the job that I'm in. It doesn't mean I'm good enough to do other jobs. I'm not a salesperson. I tried being a salesperson a number of times, and quite frankly, it's not something I can do. So yes, I was an imposter in those situations, but what I do now and what I've done in the past, in fact, in the last 6 months, I've felt that I was an imposter till I stepped back, and I actually read a really great book called, you can see that, Conquer Your Imposter. And it just reminded me that I am good enough. I do have the experience, and I have knowledgeable enough to know that I need to have people around me who have greater knowledge and experience than me so that I can refer to them when I need to. And that's one of the issues with a lot of it. A lot of us, we feel that, oh, I can't ask because I should know. That's back to front. It is totally back to front. There's no shame in asking for help. There's a really wonderful ancient old saying that says, a wise man will ask a question, a fool will not, because a fool thinks they know everything. Well, none of us here, myself, Bron, all you lovely people here, and the people Bronwyn associates with that you guys see on her calls each week, none of them are like that. They all seek and support when it's needed, or they wouldn't be in the positions they're in. That's the key difference. Feeling that you're an imposter pulls us down and prevents us from achieving our goals because we don't feel we deserve it, when in fact we do. We've worked hard. We've worked really hard. So I won't go on and on and on about it. What I would encourage people to do, and I never tell people, I never say to people, I want you to do this and you should do so and so. I do encourage everyone that I speak with, depending on the situation, and today it's this, grab hold of that book. For those of you here in Australia, you can get it from the Book Depository. The Book Depository, it's closed. That was the English one. Booktopia here in Australia. And if you have a big W where you are, their book section also has it. It's worth the read because what it does is help us to understand that imposter syndrome is a fear that we're not good enough, basically. It's a lot more detailed, of course, but it's removing our own internal fear that we all have. Grab hold of it, have a good read of it, because you're all good enough. We are all good enough in particular fields of endeavor. We shouldn't make the mistake that we know everything about every subject. From memory, it was Einstein who said, we know 0.01% of what we should know. So in reality, we don't know a jolly lot. So the more we can learn, the more we can self-reflect and realize that we're not imposters. We're continually learning. You know, we had a little bit of a joke about, before the session started, about having a childlike, not childish, childlike imagination. And personally, I believe that should be 50% of our daily life. Yeah, we need to be adults, of course we do. But having a childlike imagination allows us to explore so many different areas of the field we're working in. Don't mistake it for having to know everything. We don't. Purely because children, when they're allowed to be children, they come up with the most imaginative things. Bron said something earlier about oh, do you believe in fairies? Well, so what if you do? So what if you don't? You know,
I have fairies in my garden.
At 72, when I'm goofing around with younger people, and I get the opportunity occasionally, and if we're outside somewhere and they're kicking a football or playing cricket and the silly looking ball gets stuck in a tree, guess who the dill is who climbs the tree? And I've had so many people say to me, oh, gosh, you might fall out of the tree. And I said, yeah, well, when I was 5 years old, I might have fallen out of the tree too. You know, I can't be worried about might. What I can be very, very thoughtful of is, first of all, being safe, of course. But goodness me, you know, if we think about people like J.J. Tolkien, we think about, and again, these are people that I mentioned. I'm not interested in people's personal views. I'm referring to what they do. J.J. Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, J.R. Rowling, the people who came up with animations like Shrek, like Madagascar, like Finding Nemo, they're just three for a start. Adults came up with those, and yet adults had to have a childlike imagination. Then the animators also had to have a childlike imagination to be able to do them. There is nothing wrong with having a childlike imagination to help us through life. If we're out doing the garden, for argument's sake, or if we're doing some work in the house, it doesn't matter what we're doing. If we step back and imagine it first, it's amazing what we can do. If I allowed myself to say with the imposter syndrome, oh no, look, I'll have to pay someone to come and do that for me, I'm restricting myself. Now, there are areas I won't touch on in my outside of home, I mean, because I know I don't have the knowledge or the experience. So yes, I rely on that. My dad taught us many years ago when he was alive, if you can fix something, fix it. If you're unsure, you get advice and then you fix it. And if you know for certain you can't do something, and his example was playing with electricity for obvious reasons, he said, then you pay someone to do it. But beyond that, look inside, see what you can do, and do it. Don't be afraid of it. Be yourself. Allow yourself the imagination. Goodness me, every single person here has got some vivid imagination. We keep it within ourselves, and sometimes that's a healthy thing. Other times it's not. Let your imagination run wild. It doesn't matter, as I think it was. Where's the lady gone? Marie suggested, and she's correct, we don't let people tell us what we should and should not think. One of the biggest single things that get up my goat in our so-called modern world is we have to bow down to what everybody else thinks. Well, no, we don't. We have to respect each other. We have to be courteous, but we still have to be ourselves. Don't let the imposter overrule who you are or what you want to be, provided it's in the area you're comfortable doing. If you step outside the area to learn more, great, but don't let imposter syndrome stifle what you want to be. And for all of you working with longevity, and yes, I do little bits of with longevity with Bron, but I do have outside commitments and I focus on that. Be yourself. Don't let others, and there's plenty of people in the world say, no, that doesn't work and this and that and something else. Well, that's their choice. Fine, leave them be. Don't worry about them. Keep looking for those people who will listen, will challenge, will question, and then ultimately through your expertise, you can guide them. They're the people that'll be the most important to you ultimately. And that might only be 1 in 10 people. It might be 1 in 100 people. It's not relevant. What is relevant is you knowing that you are correct in where you're going. That's all that matters. And that's all I'm going to say on the matter today.
Well, that was pretty good. Yep. I have to read that book, by the way. I haven't read it yet. He gets these books and hides them. He reads them, and when I go to find them, well, what the heck's he put that book?
Well, there's another really great one out there. A really good one. One last one. One really good one that I'm in the process of rereading it's a Japanese one. It's called Ikagi, and it's simply about the fact that in many areas of Japan, although people do age like all of us, they're happy and they live longer because they know how to keep balance in their life, whether it's work, family, commitments, what they do. I'm sure most of you have seen those Venn diagrams, and it's a case of getting the balance of each part of your life. And they do that, and they're just so much happier. That doesn't mean they don't have things in life. Like all of life, a life doesn't do that. Life does that, like the stock exchange. But they get through it a lot more easily and in a lot more balanced way than certainly most of us in the Western culture and many people in Japan. Just another book, Ikagi is what it's called. It's a beautiful book.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dave, and thank you for filling in for all the guests that was that I tried to
Sorry about them. They have a life to live too.
That's right. Anyway, Guys, so I don't know, do any of you, I'll open it up now. Do you have any questions for Paul, or will we can go into other things, or we can have an early mark. So would anyone like to share? You have to unmute yourself.
They're all stunned. They're stunned and shocked.
Dianne?
No, no, I've been around and I've done a lot of things and I don't get bored, I'm afraid. So
Oh, don't be afraid of that. That's great.
oh no, well, I'm always doing something. It's so much to learn and there's so many exciting things in the world. And, you know, at 75 years old, I go out and, you know, do this and do that, and people look at you and just say, oh my goodness, you know, you're still running around.
Yeah.
But that's why, because the brain has to keep ticking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And doing courses, like I'm a florist, you know, a commercial florist. I've studied nutrition. You know, I've done a whole lot of different things. I've bred horses, I've bred goats, and guess what? I've got 10 little goats, all in kid, and I'm going to be a grandma. There'll be 20 babies.
Excellent. Excellent.
That's very busy.
Yeah, that is very busy, and you have to look after them all.
And I've had quads. So quads were pretty difficult because it was like titty time. This two, this two, this two, this two. When you've got two teats. So there's always something to do. There's so many things.
That's so true, Dianne. Something I've been saying to people, especially since COVID, when I deal with a lot of loneliness and frustration, as I'm sure you might be able to appreciate, particularly since COVID, because far too many people of all age groups, whether it's the very young or the so-called seniors like we are, loneliness has become an overbearing thing. And I keep saying to people, I respect what you're saying. I do respect that very much. However, if we step aside for a moment and just imagine we're the only human being on the planet, and people eventually get this bit, we're the only human living thing on the planet and everything else is still there. We have the most beautiful world you could ever imagine, irrespective. And if we put the humanity back into it, around 70% of people are still beautiful people, and they deserve our support and the ability to give them a hand up. And if we look at it that way, it's such a different way of looking at things. Yeah, there's horrid things going on in the world. I don't deny that. But historically, ever since Adam and Eve, or whatever you want to believe, the world's always been at each other's throat in one form or another. But 70% of people are still beautiful people, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, so you're definitely
very true. Now, there's some good people in the world, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, one of the best things we can do is, well, for yourself, you've got your goats and things. I got my goat here. She's got her goat here, whichever way around you want.
You better nanny.
You know, at least once a week, and I say this especially to city people, whether you've got a botanical garden or if you can get in the car and drive to the beach, get out there in the natural environment and appreciate just what we have. And one of the horrid things about, you know, we have to work and make a living and that sort of thing, and fine, I can do that. You've got to get away from that environment and appreciate what we have. You know, sometimes at night, when it's not freezing cold, I'll go outside for half an hour and just look up at the sky and realise, in many ways, we really are insignificant in the grand scheme of things. And it's beautiful to sit there and look at it.
Oh, I agree. I live among the gum trees.
Yes, so do we, thankfully.
There's a good song about that.
No.
Yep. There's always something happening. And the other thing is get out and, like I've joined Garden Club at the moment, you know, so you don't have to be lonely.
No.
There's so many things out there available that you can go somewhere, or like, you know, some sort of, it doesn't have to be garden club, but there's lots and lots and lots of things for older people as well. So it's just a bit of a shame that what I'm looking at is they're debilitated. It's certain, and they're getting younger, unfortunately.
They are.
But I don't think people today they don't look at what they're doing or where they're going, as you say. They're so busy and wrapped up with their own self, and then they get bored, and then they're too old. You've got to throw that all out the door.
Yes, you do.
You've got to get up and you've got to go and do something interesting and meet some interesting people. You know, and I'm a real chatterbox. So I go into shops, everywhere, and I start a conversation because I'm one of those people. I've had a lot of experience at talking.
Well, you did.
And it doesn't hurt.
Five pet shops, didn't you?
Yeah, I had 5 pet stores, and I mean, I'm a canine myofunctional therapist, which means I'm a massage therapist for dogs. So I've helped so many people over the years with all sorts of things, and I'm always with young longevity. I was the first person at the meeting with the young longevity, coming with Dr. Wallach and Dr. Schrouser, and I presented them on the coast. And you know, there's always something to do. You know, I mean, I saw a gentleman the other day in the car park, and he was really hobbling along, and he had a little pushy thing, and I just went up to him and said, "Look, are you okay? Do you need some help?" And he said, "Oh, look," he said, "I've just had a hip replacement." You know, so I started a conversation. I can't help myself because, you know, you see, if somebody's dropped something and they can't bend over and pick it up, I'll pick it up for them and give it to them. Yeah. So that's okay. Yeah. But I think what's happening today, there's a lot of change, and there's no sort of, "Oh, I'll help you." They just walk past you all the time. Well, I don't. I talk to everybody. So I'm not lonely, that's for sure. But try it. I mean, try it. Even if you're up the street or somebody's, you know, dropped something, you know, I'll pick it up. Or, you know, as I said, that gentleman the other day, he didn't look very well, unfortunately, and he was only in his 60s. And it's sad that people are so young getting all these different, you know, conditions. Like arthritis is at the top of the list. There's so many people with arthritis, and it's preventable and reversible. Yeah. Remember, every condition is preventable and reversible. Okay? People don't take that. They say, "Oh, I've got arthritis and I've got this wrong with me," and, you know, all these different things. End of conversation. No, there's so many things. The whole body needs to be nutritionally fed, and I call it fertilizer. Because everybody, I've done a survey, they all take vitamin B and vitamin C. That's it.
Yeah.
And what's what I'm saying. They're all in their little tube, and nobody wants to talk to anybody. But you've got to get out there and, you know, start to speak to people, and, you know, join different clubs, and look at some of the children now too. You know, they go to their football match, or, you know, Christy actually is overseas at the moment again with the sports injury massage, and she's flat out doing all sorts of things. And she texted me actually yesterday, and what about this condition, Mum? Yeah, I've got to look up things. So that's another hint. Look up PubMed. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's capital PUB, capital MED. So I never give anybody my opinion because I don't have an opinion. I looked up PubMed on the subject that she wanted to know about, and I found what she needed to know, and I texted it back to her. So I always try, to get credible information. They're the science papers, the research, who's done them, and the things like that. And I think people have to look at those sort of paperwork, but a lot of people don't know about it.
People have got to broaden how they function and where they think, rather than look at what the media has to say. That's one of the biggest issues. And it's interesting, you were just talking, what you were talking about just then. A couple of weeks ago, I was doing a master class. I have 3 degrees, and the last one I did was only 8 years ago. But I was doing a 3-day master class a couple of weeks ago with a wonderful lady from America called Georgia Ede. And she actually started her career many years ago as a GP. And then she realized there was still something missing in that. So she studied and became a psychologist. And then she realized still there was something not quite right, because she recognized that just filling people up with pills all the time wasn't solving a damn thing.
That's right.
So then she decided, thankfully, that she needed to study nutrition because all of a sudden a penny dropped for her, that her health wasn't really all that sharp. So she looked at her own self first and then realized that there are many better ways of doing things. And ultimately she came up and wrote a book called Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind. Mm-hmm. However, she points out very clearly all the way through, there is no such thing as one diet suits everybody. Mm-hmm. You've got to balance the diet to suit yourself and then tweak it because all our metabolisms are very different. But she said something that made all of us laugh, and she writes it in the book too. She said, the most important thing we have to change is what's called a SAD diet. And we're all sitting there thinking, what on earth is a SAD diet? And she said, well, even though I'm American, it's very simple. The standard American diet is what's making people ill. Mm. And Western society has incorporated that. And the importance of what she says all the way through is, as you change your diet, don't believe this stuff about, oh, this one's right for you and that one's right for you and that one's right for you, simply because in every area where these diets do work, there is a totally different historical metabolism and functioning feature for those people. There's little bits of it that work for us, but find the one that works, get yourself healthy, and then do the little tweaking and come back to the things you enjoy without going overboard with it. But all those sort of things are missing. They really are.
And that's actually what we teach, isn't it, here in longevity? What Doc Wallach's always teaching. If you don't get the food right, you can't supplement a bad diet.
No, you're right. I was simply referring to the point that Dianne made to broaden how we look at things and do our research. Don't just, and I'm not criticizing Doc Wallach. I happen to support what he says and does. Please don't misunderstand me. But we still have to broaden as we're learning other areas. And if they don't quite fit in, well, then fine, we don't have to use them. But there are many areas that do, and that's one of the many failings. Broaden how we're looking at things and incorporate it. And Diane's very right in that, goodness me.
Yeah. I found on the computer also, I don't know if you can read that, but it's Epigenics anyway. And it's a nice little page, a few pages on it with Dr. Wallach, etc. And I thought instead of reading a big book on some of the information, this is only a few pages, and I think it's quite interesting to people who don't know the company or what they're doing or where they're going. But I did find it actually on the computer, and I've printed it off because I think people have to see some information, and there's a lot of things to. I think in the company also at the moment, you look at the bottle of whatever it is, right? Yeah. And it says, take one tablet. Well, you take one tablet. So what's one tablet do? You've got something, you've got a disease, you've got something going on, you're crippled or whatever, you've got arthritis, really, really bad arthritis, let's say, and you take one tablet. It's not going to work. So what I've done, because I have a nursing background, and basically, if you take one tablet, it's not going to do a thing. So what I look at people now, or especially in my household, my husband and I are not on any medication, nothing. And basically what I do is I do like a prescribe of what the condition is and I'll up it. Okay. So for argument's sake, bad arthritis in the hips, I've already done this, 20 a day. And that's a big person. So you've got to look at what they weigh, who they are, and work out roughly. And I know that's not easy for everybody. It's easy for me because I can work it out and I know what I'm doing. But also, even in calcium, you've got all different types of calcium. Okay. Yes. I've got dogs. I've got 2 big dogs. Everybody feeds dog biscuits. Now, what's in dog biscuits? Gluten equals sugar. Yeah. So you're feeding your dogs every day sugar, and this is happening in humans as well. So you've got type 2 diabetes, and the dogs have all got type 2 diabetes, but take them to the vet and you'll get a prescription diet. My dogs just get proper food. I don't have any problems, and we don't go to vets. So again, and the digestion is so important. Once you start to chew your food, and I'll say to people, well, I'm the poo lady. I want to see what the digestion's about. Tell me about the poo. Because once you look at and hear about the poo, is it runny? Is it much of it? Are you doing going 5 days a week? Have you got constipation? I've got a girl at the moment. I know everybody probably doesn't want to ask that question, but I ask all the time. I've got a girl at the moment that poos pills like a rabbit.
Yep.
Now, how good is her, digestion? Do you see what I mean? I don't think there's enough. The digestion within this company is really, really, really important to get the nutrients and with the better foods.
Yeah.
And I think that it sort of goes over people's heads, and I don't think they're upping any of the problems. I've had a stroke years ago, a stress stroke. So I use, the products for that as well. And I find I have only praise for these products. They work. Okay. Yeah. So if you don't know something, find out.
Absolutely.
And that's why we zoom in to speak to Ben and all these lovely people. They've got all the information and they're the professionals. I never give my opinion. I always find it in writing. Pick up the book, have a look. Okay. I don't give my opinion ever. So people will ask me all sorts of questions. You wouldn't believe who they come and ask me all sorts of stuff. And I always have got a book or an article or something really quickly that they can have a look at, and they go, oh, wow, that makes sense. So it's a fabulous company. It really is.
The best way to do it, Dianne, the best way to do it. Because what you're doing is encouraging people to look for things themselves.
Yes.
And hopefully form the appropriate opinion, but at least form an opinion.
Yes.
To what is better for them rather than just being told. I remember, it's an interesting point you just made. I remember, I was about 62, 63. And it was about the last time I went anywhere near a doctor, because what I used to do was twice a year, just go and get general health check to make sure I was up, because I was under the impression that was in many respects it is a healthy thing to do. But anyway, I was at the doctor and he said, oh, your cholesterol's, because we'd done the test, he said, oh, your cholesterol's 8.4. I said, yeah, so what? He said, oh, well, no, you have to go on statins. I said, hang on a minute. I can personally remember at 19, I was at the doctor. I grew up out in the bush on many thousands of acres, and I fell off a tractor one day and cut my arm open. I went into the doctor and got it stitched up. And in those days, the doctor was sitting there with a dirty great big cup of coffee on one side and a cigar on the other side. And that's how they were. And it was about the time when they were starting to look at cholesterol. And so we did the test. I went back a week later and he said, your cholesterol's 9. I said, yes. So what does that mean? He said, oh, no, you're healthy. Go with it. And I'm one of those people that are very fortunate that I've been exactly the same weight, within 1 or 2 kilos since I was 19. I'm 72 now. I'm just under 11 stone. Anyway, I was at the doctor this day, like I said, in my early 60s, and he said, oh, your cholesterol's too high. I said, well, no, it isn't. All my research tells me my cholesterol's very healthy, thank you very much. And even I know, with all my research, that my brain needs a minimum of 20% of my cholesterol. So, no, I'm not doing anything. He said, you'll take statins because I told you so, and I'm the doctor. I said, well, I got news for you. I control myself, and I haven't been near a doctor since. And I happen to know my cholesterol's still up there, but I also know my brain needs it, especially at my age. So, there's so many things that, unfortunately, people won't think or challenge for themselves.
Don't do any research.
No, they don't. No. If the media doesn't tell them, they don't want to know.
No.
It's sad. It is quite sad.
But how boring.
I know. I mean, people have forgotten how to think and research for themselves, because they've got to have everyone tell them what to do, where to go, and probably tell them when to go to the toilet. But That's a bit sad. Well, guys, I know it's been a bit different today. That's what happens when things happen last minute. Does anyone else want to tune in and have a say? Harry does.
Come on, Harry.
Bronie.
Yes, I can hear you.
I just want to give a beautiful metaphor. I really enjoy this sport so much. I'd like to remind you of cigarette. You know, you roll a cigarette. All reminding you is stick on the paper. Good paste together. But you can't smoke it unless you roll it, steer on it, and hold it, then light it, right? Anyway, there might have taken across Dianne a professional question about mini food.
Well, I didn't quite catch that question.
I said, am I able to ask Dianne a professional question about a mini poodle?
About a mini poodle?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can ask Dianne. She's listening.
What do you know?
Dianne, there's a friend of mine's got a mini poodle, probably about 4 years old, and it keeps flicking its ears all the time. It's been to the vet and it's spent quite a lot of money on the ears, but it's only like after 3 or 4 months it sort of returns again. And they eat grain-free feed, as far as I can tell you. They had Arthrodex before when you could get it, but of late they haven't had Arthrodex for quite a while. And I was just wondering if there's anything that you might have in your professional toolbox that might help dogs with the same immune dysfunctions, I suppose, if you want to say that.
Well, I'm going to tell you something probably a little bit different. I've got 2 big dogs, a Maremma who looks after the goats, and I've got a white shepherd. Now, when I got the shepherd, I use TMA, tissue mineral analysis. Okay,
Right.
So a lot of people run out and say, oh, I've got to get a blood test. I've had a bit of experience in this, and I find them extremely accurate. Now, when I bought that dog at 5 months old, she was on dog biscuits from a professional breeder. Now, when the hair test came in, the iron, they've got ratios, and it comes up to this much, to this much, to this much. Her iron level was about this tiny, weeny little bit of iron level. And all the minerals were completely very, very low.
Yeah.
So I fed her, and then I did another hair test later to make sure that some of these things were coming back up again. I've used hair tests since they came into the country as well, and I've sent them away for humans as well. I think they're a very accurate test. The hair was from the nape of the hair for people, and the dogs is usually around about the neck area, so to speak. And I've sent them, they go over to the US, and basically I find them extremely accurate. And the other thing is too, when people are trying to give injections and get blood and all that sort of thing, they upset the animal. Okay, so I think it's a kinder way and a more accurate way. And I really, really love hair testing. And I've done it took over 20 odd years, because when they came in, I was at the meetings. I sent hair tests away, horses, dogs, and people. And I got very, very good results.
Do you have an address where we might be able to share that?
Yeah, well, if you can, it's hair testing, TMA. I can give somebody, if you contact me, I'll give you the phone number anyway. But that's very accurate. They're around about $250, and people say, oh gosh, I can't afford that. Well, what's the vet bill going to cost? I mean, I can't understand people anymore, because I'm thinking to myself, what's the cost to go to the vet? Like $2,000?
That's good. Well, that's good. Yeah,
and I don't know. I actually had one of my big Maremma. She had a bit of a discharge. She's a female, and she'd had a discharge after she'd been in season. She sat down and she had this gooey stuff coming out, and I thought, oops, I better go to the vet for that, because I need an antibiotic. So when I got round there, and I got this lovely little gentleman, he said, oh, we need to dissex her. So I don't know what dissecting is, but I'd say about $2,000. And I said, no, I'm not going to dissex her. I said, I want an antibiotic. That's what I'm here for, an antibiotic. So he tried to talk me into it and all this sort of thing. And I said, no, I want the antibiotic. So I got 2 rounds of antibiotic and she's fine.
Yeah.
But he didn't get his $2,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah. And what about weeping eyes? I mean, this dog has one weeping eye all the time, and whatever
Well,
we do,
it'll be nutritional deficiencies. Everything
Yeah.
needs to be fed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and it doesn't hurt to vary the diet. You've got to talk, I believe you've got to talk to your little dogs or your big dogs and say, you know, try this or try that. And some dogs have been on a dog biscuit for some time and then they won't eat anything else. But it's good to give them some variation. Okay?
Yeah.
And the dog also is like any animal, from the mouth to the anus. So, you know, that's why I'm the poo lady. So consequently, you've got to look at the poo. What's coming out the poo? What colour is it? Is it smelly? I remember Dr. Wallach saying, oh, when you know, the canary dies when you leave the bathroom, there's a problem. and it's no different with humans, animals. So that's why, and you're not going to believe this, but I take the poo to the vet and I do a worm count. Okay. So the vet can do a worm count. So he comes back, but otherwise people are worming their dogs every 12 weeks or something. Why? I mean, my dogs don't go out anywhere. So I've done a worm count on my dogs and I don't worm them every 5 minutes, but I'll do a worm count to make sure that they haven't got any parasites.
Yeah.
But tapeworms are also something that humans, you pat the dog, the egg is ingested, and I've seen 2 cases of a gentleman with a tapeworm in his lung, and the other one was a tapeworm in the, it was another area. Anyway, they have to operate to get those out.
Yeah.
They took half of the liver off, and there was something else, the other organ, they had to take that out as well. So again, worms are something people don't talk about. Don't talk about worms. The dogs have got worms, the horses have got worms, the goats have got worms. I get the goats, I take that feces to the vet too, and I get counts on that to make sure that I'm on the right program. Okay. And it can be done, but you've just got to know how to address it and talk to your vet as well, you know, to find out what they know. But that runny eye again it could be a little eyelash even just going into the eye that's rubbing the eye. So it might be an idea to get a full overlook with a vet and even get a count for worms for the dog as well. But I would never ever feed a dog just biscuits. Sorry.
Now on the Arthrodex though, Harry, we won't be getting it here down under anymore because of the New Zealand government decided that it was
good
a medicine. However, our animals, and Doc Wallach will tell you this all the time, can take any of our supplements. I mean, the EFAs, you just prick a hole and squeeze it onto their food. Plant-derived minerals, anything, any of our things are perfectly safe for animals.
Yeah. There's something in the Hope line too, isn't it? What's that, doctor? She's got something there that will support animals as well. Remember she was talking last week?
Yes, she did. Yeah.
Right. I'm going to look at that as well. I think that's important as well, really.
It is, yeah. That's what I said.
Well,
yeah, we've got everything they need. We just have to re-educate ourselves to. Oh well, if I can give it to me, I can give it to them.
Yeah, sure.
I use the daily on the dogs. You know, the daily, the bigger pack. And if it's a little one, you might only give it one. And I don't do it every day. That's why I use hair testing, so to speak. I like to check. Because
it'll tell you what they're missing.
Well, yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, it's cheaper to do something like that than have a dog that's sick all the time, having discomfort, and you have to go to the vets. You know, I can't afford it anymore. I mean, I keep my animal, I put it in the food chain and look after the dogs.
That's the same rule for ourselves and people.
Exactly, and the goats too. The goats, I absolutely. I've got every mineral. I've got I give them livermol and seaweed meal, and I do the Pat Colby diet because I brought her up on the coast numerous years ago, I had 2 days. She stayed with me and I presented that. I've presented quite a lot of people on lots of subjects. And basically the copper in that was also helps with the parasites, you see, in that goat. But I still do a count every so often to make sure. A gentleman just chased and found me the other day and he wants to know about goats, etc. And first question is, I said, have you ever had barber's pole worm in your goats? And he said, oh yeah, we've had some of that. Well, that is a bloodsucker and they die of anemia.
That's right.
So I said to him, if you're going to do what you want to do, you're going to have to get that whole property clean and all those goats go if they're going to go into dairy. He wants dairy goats. But again, I'm the poo lady and I also am the worm lady. And I'm not kidding. Those tapeworms too, they're serious. And I know somebody who has had it and you've pulled it out of the anus. You can actually but don't break them. You know, you've got to get it out really slowly. But that's why you have to worm the dogs. But if they're on a clean situation, a clean diet, you don't have to worm them. Just get a checkup with the vet every so often.
Yeah. Thanks, Dianne.
No problem.
Well, that was a good sort of different kind of call today. So we might leave it there because it is getting on. And thank you everyone for coming and sharing. Thank you, Dianne. You're always a wealth of knowledge. Anyway, so as I ask you all nicely here in Bronie's World to stay safe, stay informed, be empowered, but do not live in fear, my friends. And thank you, my darling, for stepping in at the last minute and being my guest today as well, and everyone for sharing. And when you're sharing things and you're not being an imposter,
we're not imposters. It's a self.
Thanks for being the
when you conquer your imposter,
it's a self-imposed thought.
then you too will be powerful, beautiful, brilliant, and most definitely very brave. God bless you all, and I'll catch you again tomorrow here in Bronie's World. Bye, everyone. God bless.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bless you. Thanks so much. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.